But it is my pleasure to introduce PJ O'Rourke. Now, PJ, it's been a very busy week at the Heartland Institute this week, and so I apologize I didn't have the opportunity to really research you and for a proper introduction, so I depended on everybody's sketchy best friend, Wikipedia. And there were a few facts in Wikipedia that I was a little unsure about, so I thought I'd run them by you and see. So, did you ever work as a rodeo clown in Missoula, Montana from 1975 to 1977?
No.
Okay. Were you once married to B. Arthur, with whom you fathered 16 children? I mean,
The internet knows everything.
I mean, you're Irish, so I thought it was plausible.
Well, the 16 children part's plausible. To be Arthur.
Did you rescue that baby Jessica kid who fell down a well in Texas in 1987?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. I had a feeling. So you might want to get into Wikipedia and explain some of those things. And unless you're proud of those things, you might want to keep them up there.
I keep the last one.
All right. But the rest of it, we'll see if this is also accurate. PJ O'Rourke is the H.L. Mencken Research Fellow at the Cato Institute and is a regular correspondent for the Atlantic Monthly, the American Spectator, and the Weekly Standard, and a frequent panelist on National Public Radio's game show, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. He's the author of 16 books, of which the latest is Don't Vote, It Just Encourages the Bastards, which, if you have not yet picked up your copy, it will be available at this table after PJ's speech. That was released just last month, and this was preceded in 2009 by Driving Like Crazy, which a lot of people I've heard in this room talk about, and it's a fantastic book celebrating the wonders of the American automobile. Other books by PJ include Parliament of Whores, Give War a Chance, followed about 12 years later by Peace Kills, America's Fun New Imperialism. One of my favorite titles ever, Eat the Rich. And On the Wealth of Nations, Books That Changed the World, which is a fantastic breakdown of Adam Jones's vital, enduring work. I read that, and even if you've read Adam Smith, to get PJ's interpretation of that very dense text is certainly worth the read. I highly recommend it. Born in the Heartland in Toledo, Ohio, PJ graduated from the real Miami University, the one in Ohio, and earned an MA in English at Johns Hopkins University. Once a filthy socialist hippie, PJ long ago saw the light and is now one of America's funniest and most lovable libertarians. O'Rourke's magazine writing
Lovable is on Wikipedia.
Again, you check that out. O'Rourke's magazine resume has few peers. He has served as managing editor of National Lampoon, and his work as a freelancer has appeared in such varied and respectable publications as Playboy, Vanity Fair, Car and Driver, and Rolling Stone, for which PJ was Foreign Affairs desk chief until 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the honor of the Heartland Institute to introduce one of America's great writers, thinkers, and just an all-around good guy and funny man, PJ O'Rourke.
In case anybody wants to do any Chicago political deals, I'm wired. So. You guys gonna eat Rahm Emanuel's lunch here, or what? Those Washington loudmouths. Somebody ought to go over to Rahm Emanuel and explain to him that the Daily Machine, this is Irish. And they don't yell at you. They don't threaten you. You just go away. So anyway, I'm working on this new theory of political science. And instead of basing my theory on the work of deep political thinkers like John Locke and Tom Paine, John Stuart Mill, I'm basing my theory on a dumb game played by teenage girls during all-night giggle sessions on sleepovers. This is, of course, something I didn't know about, but my wife was telling me about this. This is a Kill Boff Mary is the name of the game. It goes by a variety of names, but you get the idea. And what they do is the girls pick a set of 3 men, and then each girl has to decide which of those men. She has to decide on 1 man to kill, 1 man to hook up with, as the kids say these days, and 1 man to settle down and get married to. And I think the example that my wife gave was Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno, and David Letterman. You know, like the girls could do what NBC did. You know, you kill Conan O'Brien, you mess around with David Letterman, all the other interns did, and you marry Jay Leno, right? But when she's just telling me about this thing apropos of nothing, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, kill, boff, marry, that's politics. That's politics. Instead of dates, think about candidates. You know, I mean, replace romance with politics, and you've got this. This is a terrific tool for political analysis. You know, I mean, we'll just start with, as an example, 1992 presidential race. You got George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Ross Perot. Kill Ross Perot, right? You know, you could hardly avoid a boff from Bill Clinton. You know, and you marry kindly old George, right? You know. Now, of course, the game, you know, it's not always a foregone conclusion how the game is going to turn out. You know, witness our elopement with Bill rather than our walk down the aisle with George, you know. In case of the 2000 presidential election, people were pretty evenly divided in this country over whether to screw George or screw Al. You know, but although I think we could all agree on killing Ralph Nader. I'm not going to venture any examples from more recent elections for fear of attracting attention from the Secret Service, hard as that sometimes can be in the Obama White House. But the game works on parts of government too. You know, we kill the Postal Service. You know, you get in bed with FEMA, right? And you marry the armed forces. You know, government policies. Screw agricultural subsidies, marry Social Security, and health care reform kills us. You know, so kill, boff, marry. You know, I mean, this is a great way to understand politics. Because basically there are 3 legs that politics stands on in a free country. The politics has got 3 legs. It's got the leg of power, the leg of freedom, and the leg of responsibility. Kill, boff, marry. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. I just thought about that. You know, the power, that's the kill. You know, freedom, that's the messing around, and of course, responsibility. Now, when I first began thinking about politics, back when mastodons and Nixon roamed the earth, you know, I was obsessed with the freedom part, you know, of this, the boffing part, you know, and I had a kind of messy idea of freedom back then, and I had the hippie girlfriends to prove it. But I had a very tidy idea that freedom was the central issue in politics. Now, when I was a kid, I loved politics, and many young people do, because kids can spot a means of achieving gain without merit. You know? Now, I was wrong. I was wrong about the lovable nature of politics, but I was sure I was right about the preeminent place that freedom should have in a political system. But you know, what I wasn't really thinking about is there's lots of definitions of freedom. In fact, there are 36 definitions of freedom in Webster's Third International Dictionary. You know, plenty of people are theoretically in favor of freedom. We're all but overrun with theoretical allies in freedom's cause. We've got collaborators in the fight for freedom that we don't even want, you know. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. That's second to the last sentence in the Communist Manifesto, and there's kind of a creepy echo of it in Chris Christopherson's Me and Bobby McGee, you know. Mao announced letting 100 flowers blossom and 100 schools of thought contend is the policy. Well, 500,000 people died as a result of that definition of freedom, you know. And we should probably keep in mind that the core definition, the original definition of free in the English language is not in bondage. I mean, the most important, meaningful thing about freedom is that mankind has got this sickening history of slavery. But I tell you, it is easy, as you can tell from Mao and Marx, that it's easy to confuse freedom and power. You know, it's easy to, what I think of as getting mixed up in about the differences between opportunities and privileges. And actually, opportunities and privileges, I think I would better call opportunities and privileges gimme rights and get out of here rights. See, our Bill of Rights, that's all about our freedom to say, I've got God, guns, and a big damn mouth, and if the jury finds me guilty, the judge will go my bail. This is a get out of here right. This is our right to be left alone, our freedom from interference, usually from government, but also sometimes from our fellow citizens when they want us to sober up and quit yelling and put the shotgun down and go back in the trailer. Now, politicians in their hearts, they're always kind of lukewarm supporters of get out of here rights because, for one thing, they're being told to get out of here, and for another thing, strict adherence to get out of here rights would leave very little room for legislating, something that legislators dearly love to do, Gimme rights, they're much more politically alluring. And this is how we find ourselves as voters tempted with the right to education, the right to housing, the right to health care, the right to a living wage, the right to oil spill beach cleanup, to high-speed internet access, to 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Now, politicians, they just don't understand the difference between get out of here rights and gimme rights. In fact, a lot of politicians, I think that they can't even tell. But I can tell. And when rights consist of special privileges and positive benefits, rights kill freedom. Wrong rights are the source of excessive political power. And it was years after I got interested in politics before I realized that the central issue in politics is not, in fact, freedom. The central issue is power. And I just didn't see that. You would have had to have been a real idiot not to see that, but at that time, I was an idiot, and I wasn't seeing the fact that politicians are very careless about promising gimme rights and very cynical about delivering them. And that gimme rights, in return, are absurdly expandable. The government gives me a right to get married. Therefore, that implies that I have a right to a good marriage, because otherwise, why give me that right, Right? And my marriage is made a lot better by my children's right to daycare, so that the brats aren't in my face all day, being deprived of their right to a nurturing developmental environment, Every child has the right to a happy childhood, so I have the right to happy children. Richer children are happier children, so give me some of Angelina Jolie's. Right? Now, the expense of all these gimme rights makes politicians happy because they get to do the spending. And, even get out of here rights aren't free. They require a military, a constabulary, a judiciary, and a considerable amount of expenditure of patience by our neighbors when we're outside the trailer yelling with our shotgun. But gimme rights require no end of money, and money is the least of their costs because every one of these rights means the transfer of goods and services from one group of people to another. Now, that group of people from whom those goods and services are taken, of course, they lose the goods and services. But all people lose the power that has to be given to a political entity in order to effect that transfer. And we just didn't want to understand that, especially we, the baby boom. We were really bad about this. The baby boom was very bad about understanding the nature of power in politics. And that became obvious when politicians attempted to use their power to trample on our freedoms by drafting us and sending us to Vietnam. And we fought the establishment. We fought the establishment by growing our hair long and dressing like circus clowns. That was really smart, We're a pathetic bunch. And I'll tell you, it didn't start with the Beatles and marijuana and the pill. Remember the coonskin cap? I wore mine to school. Now, children of previous eras may have worn coonskin caps, but they had to eat the raccoons first.